The chill of the night wrapped around me like a specter as I found myself alone in my dimly lit home. My parents had gone out for the evening, leaving me to navigate the silent corridors and quiet rooms on my own. The ticking of the clock in the hallway seemed to reverberate louder in the emptiness. I decided to immerse myself in a movie, hoping the glow of the screen would dispel the encroaching darkness. The shadows, however, had a mind of their own, playing tricks on my eyes in the peripheral spaces. I dismissed it as my imagination, but a subtle unease nestled itself in the corners of my consciousness. As the movie's tension mounted, a sound from upstairs interrupted the fictional suspense. It was a soft but distinct creak, as if a footstep had grazed the floorboards above. My heart quickened, but I tried to rationalize it as the house settled in. Old homes have their quirks, I reasoned. The unsettling feeling lingered, refusing to be dismissed. I hesitated but finally mustered the courage to investigate. The staircase groaned under my weight as I ascended, each step echoing in the silence. At the top, I scanned the hallway, finding nothing amiss. I nervously chuckled at my own paranoia and turned to go back downstairs. That's when I heard it, a hushed whisper, barely audible. "Stay." The voice seemed to drift from one of the darkened rooms. My breath caught in my throat, and I strained to listen. Another murmur reached my ears, indistinct but unmistakably human. I inched towards the room from which the sound emanated, the air growing thicker with each step. The door was slightly ajar, and I pushed it open hesitantly. The room was empty, illuminated only by the feeble glow of the streetlight filtering through the curtains. A gust of wind rattled the window, and I shivered. As I turned to leave, the door slammed shut with a force that seemed impossible in the stillness. Panic surged through me as I grappled with the doorknob. It refused to budge. A cold dread settled in my stomach. The room felt different now, charged with an otherworldly energy. The temperature plummeted, and a shape materialized in the darkness, a silhouette that mirrored mine but twisted and contorted. I stumbled backward, my pulse racing. The figure reached out, its fingers brushing against mine with an icy touch. In a surge of adrenaline, I wrenched the door open and fled down the stairs. The once familiar house now felt like a labyrinth of hidden horrors. As I fumbled for my phone to call my parents, the whispers echoed again, closer this time. "You're not alone," they hissed, a chilling reminder that the darkness held secrets I could not comprehend. The clock struck midnight, marking the beginning of my solitary vigil in our creaky, century-old house. My parents had left for a weekend getaway, and I found myself alone amidst the unsettling quiet. Rain tapped persistently against the window, creating a disconcerting backdrop to my solitude. I attempted to immerse myself in a book, but the rhythmic drumming of the rain played tricks on my senses. Every unfamiliar sound in the old house sent a shiver down my spine. I dismissed the shadows dancing in my peripheral vision as mere figments of an overactive imagination, yet a pervasive sense of dread lingered. A sudden knock interrupted my uneasy attempts at distraction. My breath caught, and I strained to discern if it was just the wind playing tricks. Another knock, this time more insistent, echoed through the house. Rationalizing it as the old structure settling, I dismissed the unease and returned to my book. As the night wore on, the rain intensified, a cacophony that drowned out all other sounds. Just as I started to convince myself that my fears were baseless, the knocks returned, closer this time. They seemed to emanate from within the house, a deliberate rhythm that resonated with an eerie intelligence. Unable to ignore it any longer, I cautiously approached the source of the sound, the basement door. Its rusty hinges groaned in protest as I cracked it open. A gust of cold air rushed up from the darkness below, carrying with it a scent of damp earth. The knocks persisted, now muffled, as if beckoning me into the abyss. The basement light flickered, casting long, distorted shadows on the narrow staircase. I descended hesitantly, my bare feet meeting the cool concrete floor. The knocking guided me to a corner where an old grandfather clock stood, its pendulum swinging with hypnotic precision. As I reached out to touch it, the knocking ceased abruptly. The room plunged into a suffocating silence, broken only by the relentless drumming of the rain on the windows above. The clock's hands froze, and a whisper, barely audible, slithered through the stillness. "Help me." My heart raced, and I stumbled backward, the basement closing in around me. The once familiar surroundings warped into an otherworldly realm. I sprinted up the stairs, slamming the basement door shut, but the voice persisted, echoing through the house. The rain outside took on a malevolent tone, each drop a chilling refrain in the night. Alone in my supposedly empty home, I couldn't shake the feeling that something unseen lingered, a spectral presence that defied rational explanation. Sleep remained elusive as the rain continued its relentless descent, carrying with it the haunting echoes of that inexplicable night.